The cat is going absolutely bonkers in the other room. So sorry if you hear that. Sorry, not really that sorry. Kind of sorry, but he lives here. Um, and today is my only day that I can do these recordings. So we're just going to have to deal with the yowling. You might not be able to hear it. Hopefully not. Um, Hello, welcome back. This is hopefully episode 3 of the What's Your Glimmer podcast, brought to you by me, Annie, and the Glimmer Seekers Collective. Well, that sounded very professional, didn't it? Oh, maybe I'm getting the hang of this. I am actually batch creating these because I have one day in a week where I have the house to myself, so therefore, hopefully, performance anxiety will not kick in. And it's just me and the crazy cat because my son is hanging out with grandma, and then his cousin in the evening. And my partner is in one of his office working days. So that gives me like one opportunity a week to be able to sit down, come here and do some podcasting with you. In fact, it was only around 2 hours ago that I actually figured out the setup and worked out how to do this in the first place. But hopefully, this is actually week 3. So, what should we talk about today? I think we should talk about the Bravezone. And you might be wondering, what the heck is the Bravezone? And for me, the Bravezone is actually something very pivotal, just in general, in my personal way of thinking, and in my way of communicating with my audience. And it's probably actually kind of what led to all of this in the first place. I absolutely had to mega step into my Bravezone to get to this point, to be confident enough to say, do you know what? I've got enough to say. And people do kind of want to listen to it to do a podcast. So if you have that kind of thought where you think, I actually have something really big that I want to do, maybe the Bravezone method is the thing for you. How did we get here? How did I start this? I'm trying to remember actually, and it was to do with my Instagram. So it was to do with my Instagram and the fact that I felt like I wasn't showing up the way that I wanted to. I was suffering with confidence issues, or I was telling myself that I was suffering with confidence issues because, in life, people will tell you that you have certain things about you and you will learn to believe that. And one of those things is that people would tell me that I have a confidence issue, which I never really truly agreed with. I actually had a people pleasing issue. And the times when I was very convinced about something and knew that this thing would be the thing to do, I would back down because there would be people who might not agree or who it would affect and they wouldn't like it. And I would be a people pleaser. So therefore, I would end up doing the thing that wasn't the right thing, potentially, because I would be in fear of upsetting or offending people. And I was very much finding that on my Instagram presence. And it just got to a certain point where I recognized the fact that I had some great things that I wanted to communicate, and I was too scared to do it. I was too worried about what people would say. I was too worried that people would come for me in the comments or whatever. And actually, since I started doing things like recording my thoughts, I think I've had maybe 2 comments from people who didn't like it. And I think the main issue that they had was that they didn't want me on their feed. So they commented, to which my reply was, I'm sorry you don't like this. Thank you so much for the engagement. But unfortunately, the more you comment on things like this, the more you're going to see it because you're sending a signal to the algorithm that you want to see it. So maybe turn the anger down and just scroll past, and the algorithm will start to show you things that you do want to see. And I was very, very scared of all of that. And I did find when it happened that actually I didn't mind too much. And I did find that I was in a place where I could come to think of those people with some kind of compassion because clearly something going on, and they need a space to vent, and that's fine. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who put things out on social media who aren't fine with that and do find that a struggle. And one of my big, big goals is to really, really help people to be able to be resilient to that. Because no matter what you do in life, there will be haters. Haters gonna hate, babes. And that is facts. But at the same time, for every hater, there's going to be so many lovers. And we have to kind of jump through that very instinctual and base instinct human nature thing. I'm not sure what the word is that I'm looking for. But that human nature action, which is that we do tend to look to the negative more, and it's a survival thing. And once you recognize that and start to try and override it, actively override it, it definitely does make things easier. I can tell you for facts, it really does make things easier. But that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about the Bravezone. So I decided that I was just going to do it. I was just going to do it. It was just one day. It was just a snap. It was just something in me that just went, now is the time. And when your intuition talks to you like that, you kind of should listen because you never know what doors it's going to open. If I hadn't listened to that bit of intuition, I don't think I would be here right now. And that's fact. It's not a tax on myself. It's just a fact. I think that if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't opened myself up into that particular Bravezone, then I wouldn't be here right now. And that kind of makes me feel a bit sad and very, very glad that I did listen and I did respond. And I responded quite loudly. And the response that I got in return was so positive, so positive. And then literally, I had those two comments, and the entire time that I've been doing this. And what is that in the sea of, engagement and not engagement? Remember, you've got to love on your lurkers because not everybody wants to pop a like, not everybody wants to comment, but they do want to see what you're saying and they do want to see what you're doing. And quite often they do want to invest in you and your passion business. So remember that. But yeah, so it started with doing some reels. And I think the first reel that I did, I was walking around outside. I had my knitted panda hat on, all snuggled in because it was winter, probably raining, probably had no makeup on. And I talked about something that my son had said and the inspiration it had given me. I seem to remember we'd been playing with a balloon and he'd said, balloon goes pop. And I'd thought, yeah, balloons do go pop, just like us. You blow it and you blow it and you blow it. And you put too much into it and you go pop. And I talked about that. I put that on a reel, and it was probably the most popular reel that I had and responded to reel that I had ever done. With the exception of one that was a guide on how to measure your ring finger, which just went a bit bonkers, that one. But that's by the by. And so I continued and I challenged myself. I was very nervous about it and I did it. And then when I reflected on it, after doing it a couple of times, I thought, I've been stepping into my brave zone. In fact, the brave zone came from doing one of these reels where I wanted to talk about reframing phrases, silly phrases, like get out of your comfort zone. Um, and really the idea of the brave zone just kind of flowed from there. It was not intentional at all. It was quite inspiration led. And I'd said I want to reframe the comfort zone. I was like, what we want to do is we want to be thinking about stepping outside the comfort zone. Kind of doesn't make you want to step outside the comfort zone, especially when someone tells you to do it. I mean, if you're like me, you don't like anyone telling you to do anything. But, saying stepping out of your comfort zone, like there's the negative word of out, stepping out, that can I think can cause kind of feelings of anxiety and worry. And there's the word comfort zone. And, if I'm in my comfort zone, that means it's cozy and it's comfy. And maybe I don't want to. I quite like it where I am. And so I wanted to kind of think of a way to rephrase that to encourage people and myself to step out of the comfort zone, but in a much more positive way. And I started talking about stepping into the brave zone. And a lot of stepping into the brave zone is not making massive leaps. If you make a big leap, it's likely to crumble, in my personal opinion. And this is just my opinion, but you need a collection of tiny actions, teeny tiny brave zone steps in order for you to reach a higher goal. So I have always wanted to do a podcast from the minute that we knew what a podcast was. And I'm not techie. My partner is very techie, and we've been listening to podcasts possibly for years before they kind of came into mainstream, before a lot of people even knew what a podcast was. And we've come up with so many different ideas and scenarios of different podcasts that we could do. We never did them, but I always had in my mind, I was always like, I want to do a podcast. And I always wanted to do a YouTube channel. As soon as I found out you could do a YouTube channel and started to feel a bit more confident about, filming and life and all of the rest of it, I was like, yeah, I want to do a YouTube channel. And hopefully this will be on the Glimmer Seekers YouTube channel, and hopefully is being well received. But I knew that I couldn't just leap to doing a podcast, because that's ridiculous. That is like a mega leap. And it's just not going to happen. Like, you wouldn't dive off a cliff without first diving off something a little bit closer to the sea or the water. There's building blocks. You need building blocks. Everything is built from building blocks. You can't climb a mountain by jumping from the bottom to the top. You have to take steps and steps and steps and steps, and every step counts, and every step takes you higher. And it's the same with stepping into your brave zone. And repetition is absolutely key. So in order to get myself here, I first started by doing talkie stories. And that was nerve-wracking. But the reason I started there is because it lasts for 24 hours and then it disappears. So there's really not very much permanence to it. And you can delete if you don't want it. Like, there's no pressure there. It feels pressureless to me. Even though, yes, it absolutely is a big step. It really, really is a big step, because it's going to be one of the first steps, and the first steps tend to be the hardest. Of course, they're the hardest. And you step into that brave zone, and it might take you a little while, and it might take you a couple of times. So you step into the brave zone, you do the thing, and then you retreat and go get yourself a hot chocolate and a cuddle. And then you step into the brave zone and you do the thing, and it's a little bit easier. And then you retreat and you get yourself a hot chocolate and a cuddle. And then you step back into the same brave zone. And after a while of stepping in and retreating, it actually just becomes part of the comfort zone. So then you need to work out what is the next brave zone step. So from there, I went from doing talkie stories, which I was very comfortable about. And I'm sure my community on Instagram would probably say I talk too much on there. So then I started taking it to Reels. And for some reason, Reels feels a lot scarier to me. It felt a lot scarier to me. There's just something about it. I think because there's so many really fantastic reels out there. There's so many content creators who it is their full-time job, so their stuff should be good. Their stuff really, really should be good. But it does make it a lot harder for those of us who don't have all that time. We don't have loads and loads of time to learn how to do fantastic transitions and practice your lighting and get your audio amazing and script, scripting your reels and all of that stuff. Like, please, please, please don't ever compare yourself to anybody else's reels, because apart from anything, you will do what you want to do for your business, and that will be the right thing for you. You will speak your truth, and hopefully what you're speaking is what makes you shine. And so people will really, really respond to that because your shine will come through. But Reels feels quite permanent. And I think because you can see the reach as well, maybe that was part of my problem. And I actually still get that feeling sometimes with Reels now. I do still get that with Reels. And so I did the same thing. I made myself do these reels. I enjoyed doing them, but it was still very, very nerve-wracking to actually post them. In fact, I did a few where I made them and I didn't post them. And that was still a step into the brave zone. That was still getting me to kind of encompass part of that brave zone into the comfort zone in order to be able to really fully step into that area. And I did the same process where I challenged myself and I said, I'm going to do this so many times, like daily. And I do push myself, like, please don't kind of take my standard and my process to be what you have to do. You have to do what you're comfortable with. It's just that I am kind of a bit of I'm all in or I'm out. So I needed to make sure that I kept the momentum up. Otherwise, I would notice something shiny over there and I'd forget that I was doing that thing. And in order for me to build a habit that I'm comfortable with, I also need to do that on the daily. So that's what I did. And I stepped into the brave zone. I did the thing. I retreated. I got my chocolate and my cuddle. And I did that. Repeat, 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 repeat. And that was great because then that became part of my comfort zone. And yes, whatever you do, there's always going to be a certain amount of discomfort. There's always going to be a certain amount of nervousness, and that is completely and utterly normal. So please don't think that any of us who do these things and look confident in doing them, we all still get nervous. It's just that we kind of put our brave pants on in order to do it, and then afterwards we disappear into our shells. So really what I'm trying to say is whatever stage your brave zone is, you can absolutely do it, and you have to take your baby steps to do it. So the stage that came after that was going live. And that was the really pinnacle moment for me, because I found that I actually was really comfortable with going live, because I was still doing my talkie stories. In fact, the reason I went live for the first time was because I got really frustrated about the fact that I could only do a certain amount of time for the story. So I just went live. And I believe I was talking about working with your thymus gland in order to release particular hormones, and using positive mantras. So, I mean, that's the thing. You could probably go back and find that on Mini Moon somewhere, maybe not. But that was a proper breakthrough moment, like a real breakthrough moment, because I didn't really feel that much discomfort in doing that. And then that formed into me going live every single morning. And I remember stating in the first one, and I called it the Breakfast Bravezone. And I stated that that was going to be my breakthrough action in order to get me towards being comfortable enough to do a podcast. And that is where we are right now. In terms of goal setting, we have just been doing our autumn goal setting in the Glimmer Seekers. So yes, it's kind of where the quarters are, but actually we look at the seasonal energies and how the energy can benefit you to work with it within your business. And the big thing is about reflection in autumn. And it's also about celebration and harvest of all the things that you've been learning about and all the things that you've done over the past year, and just kind of reflecting and seeing which are the leaves that we don't need anymore. What have we been doing that we've got the most out of it and we don't need that anymore? It's not serving and we can lose that. And I am now at the stage where I'm feeling like, do I continue with the lives? Because I've now got to the stage of doing the podcast. I think I will. I will continue with the lives because it's for a different audience, I suppose. It's not for passion business owners. It is for my community who have joined me because of the work that I do with my Mini Moon account and business. I shouldn't say account. I am not defined by my Instagram account, although it is where most of my community is. But that particular passion business, and I do not want those people to feel like I have left them, because I haven't. I absolutely love that branch of my business, and I will love and adore all those amazing, amazing people within that community for the rest of my life. I really, truly will, because they have allowed me to take space to step into my brave zone, and they have cheered me on, they have encouraged me, and I wouldn't be right here if it wasn't for those incredible people, those people who come into my DMs and say, what you said today really resonated with me. Thank you so much for being brave enough to sit there and talk about it. Thank you so much for validating my feelings on this thing. And I never want to lose that. So I will continue with the lives for as long as I possibly can. It might be that I have to reduce the amount of time that I do it in a week. I don't know. Hopefully those people will get something from these podcasts, even if they don't have a passion business. I think that there's a lot of lessons that we learn in our passion businesses that we can just take into everyday life. And there's a lot of things that we can learn in everyday life that we can take into our passion businesses as well. So I would really love to know, what is in your brave zone? If you were joining us in the goal setting, I would be giving you a little cheeky workbook. And for the goal setting, I have laid it out so that you would pick a category. So, for example, I will talk about visibility because it is incredibly relevant here. And I've laid it out so that you can have 3 stages, because we have to remember that life does tend to life all over us, and like properly life all over us at times. And lifing is one of the reasons why the Glimmer Seekers Collective was even produced or even conceived of in the first place. So you have to make sure that your goals can be achievable at your most limited capacity. So in the goal setting, I've laid it out so that you have your comfort zone. And this can be or should be something that you're already kind of doing, but you're feeling a bit, but consistency is a goal. You know, doing that thing consistently is a goal. The second part is a Bravezone. So what would be your Bravezone goal for that category? And the third one is that the squeeze zone, as I've called it, the absolute your pants. This thing is like mega challenge. Really big, like exciting. Oh my God, I can't believe that I'm trying to do this thing kind of goal. So for me, for visibility, I put for comfort zone, doing talking reels with either my face or just a voiceover for the Glimmer Seekers, because that is a bit of a challenge. I'm having to work out how to change my voice from speaking to my mini moon audience to speaking to the Glimmer Seeker audience. And let's face it, it's quite a there are some big rollers in this world, and it's kind of intimidating. It is intimidating. But at the same time, I know that there is space for all of us. There's space for everybody. And this is the space that I've created for me and for anybody who would like to join me here. So yeah, that was my comfort zone one. Continuing with reels with voiceover or face. Bravezone, to record podcasts for YouTube and actual podcast platforms. And that one's kind of the scary one for me. I'm slightly used to YouTube now because I have a channel with Mini Moon Arts. But actually recording the podcast, believing in myself that I have enough to say and I have a strong enough message and I have something that people maybe want to listen to actually put that out into the big, bad, scary world of YouTube podcasts and actual podcasts feels pretty, pretty big. And so far, none of these recordings have gone anywhere yet. So if you're listening to this, then this means that actually I've done all right. And yeah, here we go. We're in the Bravezone and we just got to keep doing it until it becomes part of the comfort zone. And then what did I put in the squeeze zone? I put joining one of the Yorkshire Powerhouse networking sessions, online sessions, which is a proper, like, I believe in myself enough. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to actively join a very big and pretty prestigious networking session and do my elevator pitch to all these businesses. So that feels pretty big. But I guess I am the kind of so I put it in and my brain immediately just went, oh, challenge accepted. Let's go look at when they are. Let's go book one. I'm like, oh, excuse me, calm down. Let's think about this for a second. And I was like, do I need to think about it? I was like, yeah, probably. So I haven't booked it yet, but I will. I am going to do this and I will get it done before we move into the next quarter. That is my challenge to myself. And now that I said that, I kind of am going to have to do it, aren't I? Because you're going to hold me accountable, hopefully. So that is the Bravezone, and quite a flipping massive part of what the Glimmer Seekers is. So do with that what you will, I suppose. I don't really have much more to say right now, so I'm going to end this episode right here. See you in your brave zone. Have a truly wonderful day, and let's spread some magic and glimmers everywhere we go. Bye.